G'day, I'm Ash, and this is Il-2 1946, and it's just going to be the background today. We'll be flying the 262A2, or the Meshify 262, and we'll also be flying the ME-262 HG2 as well towards the end of the video. Now, I'm flying in Il-2 1946 because I just have a fascination with the upcoming aircraft in Operation Bodenplatte. It's not really called Operation Bodenplatte, it's a Battle of Bodenplatte. And it is an expansion to Il-2 Battle of Moscow, and Battle of Stalingrad I should say, in which this jet is going to be added. And it is going to be the most highly detailed, the most realistic feeling to date version of that jet available in a consumer video game. And I think that's really an interesting point there. I get that DCS doesn't have the 262, although I am hearing rumours or whispers about certain jet aircraft coming to that game as well, but I'm really excited for the Il-2's edition of the 262. So you know what, whip out the old 1946 and let's take her for a spin. Of course, 1946 hasn't aged particularly well. The graphics are a bit iffy at... but again, it's mainly about gameplay and feel, and I was playing this with my hands-on throttle and stick, so my Thrustmaster T16000 joystick and throttle quadrant. I need to get head tracking in this game. It is completely... how should I say? It is completely necessary for a game like this. I still haven't got mine working, and of course it doesn't have VR support, so I couldn't record with VR. But anyway, I love the 262 for several reasons. Now, I've got a book, it is by Adolf Galland, one of the highest scoring and surviving aces of Germany after the Second World War, and it is a fantastic book. I've read through it a few times, and he just sings nothing but praises for the 262's combat performance in terms of logistics, and the way that they had materialistic design with the engines, and the way that alloys work and the limited materials was the aircraft's biggest downfall. You know, 10,000 hours or even 100 hours or 10, and then it minimised to just 10 hours of flight time per engine just because they couldn't find the rare materials to build the Jumo engines. But there was undeniably a wave of support for this kind of vehicle. Most modern jets are very similar to the 262's engines, and that's what I really love about the aircraft. It was the most technologically advanced aircraft in World War II. In terms of the leap forward in propulsion technology, it had very early swept wings. It had many navigational, systems and things that would be employed into future military aircraft. The 262 can be pinned down to be one of the most important and pivotal aircraft for modern jet development. Now obviously the Allies really influenced the German jet program with their strategic bombing campaigns and the constant disruption of German aircraft manufacture and transportation. The Allies were really able to hamper the development process, but not completely destroy it. And although German planes and pilots and the thousands of bomber raids that destroyed Germany's economy and resources, this jet program still continued, and it's a very interesting one at that. There are so many different variations in the 262. There was a night fighter version, there was one with an anti-tank capability, there was one that was used as a strike fighter, there was one installed with a twin-seater trainer variant with radar even, and the list just goes on. There was extra guns, there was one with 20mm cannons, there was one with the list goes on. And there was also other various developments or improvements to the base model of this aircraft. There was ones with rocket boosters, there was ones with Rato rockets, and there's ones with ground attack aircraft modifications for the 262. The list is very extensive, but what has this got to do with Il-2, especially with the Bodenplatte expansion that is coming out, or has come out, but certain aircraft have been delayed, particularly the most anticipated vehicle, the 262. Granted, we will get the Tempest, we'll get the P-38K, or some of the variants. I think some aircraft are already out. I have tested a couple of them. The Thunderbolt, a different version of the Spitfires, But ultimately, what is going to be really interesting is how this thing plays. Obviously, first impressions matter most, and as soon as I can get access to the 262, I'll make a dedicated VR video, and even probably a non-VR video, on the 262. It is an absolutely sensationally, I don't know, exciting aircraft, because it changes the way you think about military combat. Obviously, in World War II, you have propeller-driven aircraft, and then eventually the power limits become a little too extreme. You know, you've got engine versus weight, so what your engine can output versus the weight that it will cost to have that output in the aircraft, and then you've got to redesign the aircraft. So there are a major amount of complexities, especially in aircraft design, that relate to how you operate different styles of aircraft. Obviously, you can bore out the cylinders in a prop aircraft and increase the horsepower by giving it different fuels and just tweaking the engine to make sure it runs perfectly. And a lot of people did do this. There are reports of P-51s being, you know, outclassing Spitfires just based on the fact that they had, you know, custom engine setups. My biggest fear for this thing is it's going to be a strike bomber and it's not going to be very good at all. However, in that sense, it's probably going to be a very fast aircraft, something of which will become a menace to enemy pilots who are taking off from their airfield. If this thing gets the ability to carry bombs, it'll be probably the fastest and most effective way of going out to destroy a singular target against the allies in which you're versing. On the flip side, this aircraft probably would, in actual fact, take a long time to slow down, and as a result could be easily caught, as it was historically, landing and taking off. Another potential issue is with the airfield size in IL-2 itself. The problem being is that the overall portion of airfields are just way too small to operate the amount of runway length that the 262 requires to take off. So is there going to be some changes or a brand new map? Obviously there is, but again, who knows? Obviously there is another problem which I haven't really addressed, and that's the fact that throttling up, this aircraft doesn't like to be throttled up at all. In fact, pilots were instructed to, in real life, to only very, very slowly increase the throttle, as when you did increase the power level of the aircraft relatively quickly, the engines would flame out and either catch on fire. Some of the other inherent issues would be with the airframe, which will be interesting to see as well, in terms of it had, well, a very large problem with locking up at high speeds. We don't know necessarily what the maneuverability will be of the aircraft, as no one's really modelled the 262 properly in a sim, aside from Il-2 1946. And obviously it's available for you to play in War Thunder, although that's more of an arcade simulation, if anything. But it'd be higher than pretty much any other plane in the game in terms of top speed that can currently go. And while we might not see the the next evolution of the 262 as seen on screen right now, I think it is very important that this aircraft is properly balanced and historically done so, whether that be through its fundamental flaws in terms of the aviation design itself, or maybe the fact that Germany didn't necessarily have all the logistics to keep up with the Allied war machine. Is there something here that maybe players are expecting out of the 262? Well, obviously, it's going to be a great aircraft, that's for sure. However, it needs to be balanced. Being a first jet in a IL-2 style game since 1946, being fully modular, basically updated, and having a proper flight system, and basically feeling like a proper aircraft, it'll be interesting to see how this aircraft flies. I think that I'm particularly excited for the 262. It could even mean that we get meteors, or even at latest maybe some early American jets as well. But I still remain hopeful that if they do a Pacific campaign in the near future, that my beloved Boomerang can come to IL-2. That's something that I've been wanting and waiting for ages. So even if the 262 is incredibly hyped up, and I'm looking forward to creating a lot of major content on it, I don't know, it's just got this mystery and element of surprise to it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching today, lads. My name's Ash, and I'll catch you in the next one.